and what they're looking for is a promotion. They would have heard him tell Peter and tell everybody that in the regeneration you'll be sitting on thrones and judging the nations and all this kind of. They would have heard that, so it's kind of like it's in their head that they've heard that, and now obviously James and John are brothers. They've maybe talked about it a little bit and said, I wonder if we just ask them, if we could be the guys that sit on his right and left, the two most powerful positions, the two most honorable positions, like a queen sits next to her king, or the vice president next to it was just a question, but this is still what they're thinking about, is position, promotion, that kind of thing. Both of these guys, they're part of the inner circle. They were on the Mount of Transfiguration. They saw Elijah and Moses. They saw the old, the law, the prophets. They saw the determination of that. They see Jesus, so there must be something coming. I mean, he was with Mo and Elijah, with those two, so why can't it be James and John? Why not? You could see this kind of thought process, but it's still a prevailing thought process for us even today. It's very interesting, the very first thing they come to him with. Teacher, we want you to do for us whatever we ask. And that's really what they're saying. Hey, wait a minute. We came to you, we prayed, and we asked you to do something for us, and you didn't do it. It's very similar to the way people get completely obliterated when God does what God should do, which is not what we think he should do. So they come and they say, we want you to do for us whatever we ask. I mean, that's what we pray, don't we? Isn't it most of the time we pray, we send out our prayer requests, and our anticipation is not that he's going to say no. Our anticipation is, of course, he's going to do what we ask, because we know what we're talking about. It's a fascinating question if you don't think that way. If that's not our mindset, if our mindset is thy will be done, then it's really hard to juggle the two and decide, well, wait a minute. Yeah, your will is okay, but really what I want is my will to be done.
Like at this particular point in time, have they even heard him say, ask anything in my name and it shall be done?
No, he hadn't said it. That was at the Last Supper. And Jesus basically responds to them, what is it that you want? He doesn't say yes. He says, what? Because you're looking at these two guys. These are the guys he named the Sons of Thunder, right? And name them that for no reason. What is it that you'd like, boys? And really, this is what they're saying in that short little passage that you read. Promote us above our brothers. We want to be at your right hand, your left. Position us at your sides, because those are the most important positions to be. Give us special privilege. See, when I keep saying it's a prevailing thought today, Jesus has made it clear what ministry, what serving is all about. There's no question. The prevailing thought today, as it was 2,000 years ago and 2,000 years before that, the prevailing thought is we don't want to do what's necessary. We'd rather tell others what to do. Most people, most of the time, are not looking to actually do what's necessary. It's much easier and much better to be the one who's telling others what to do. So, if I'm at your right hand and your left, I'm not going to be the one washing feet. I'm going to be doing the teaching about washing the feet, so everybody else washes the feet. I'm not washing feet. Are you kidding? We don't want to do what's necessary, but tell others to do it. You see, one of the biggest problems of this position thing, and everybody in this room, unless your entire adult life you've always been the boss of a company, and what happens in this position mentality is it creates an us and a them. I'm here, you're there. Jesus knew that if you're position-minded, if you are into the power of position, what you're really telling me is you're in the power of separation. You want there to be clear division between me and you. And that is not Jesus at all. There's a quote I've got here from Eminem, the rap hip-hop star kind of thing. His quote is this. It's very short and very simple, and it makes a lot of good sense when you hear it. It's hard to meet new people in my position. And immediately, a lot of young people who are fans would say, well, of course, he's Eminem, which is a nice way of saying we are like worlds apart. He's way up there and I'm way down here. And Eminem is saying, and it's difficult because you never connect with people. We're separated. You can't connect with them. You can't meet new people because of my position. Because that's what position does. It separates. It creates an us and them. Whether it's by design or just its natural fruit, that's what it does. And for a Jesus who's come to gather everybody together, he knows you cannot gather everybody together. You cannot enjoy the unity of the Spirit where there's division over different views on power and position. And he knows that. He's got to absolutely get rid of that. I believe he did. I also believe that as quickly, because when you look at the early church, it's kind of fascinating to me that the Roman Catholic Church, for instance, calls Peter the first pope and everything, and sets up this hierarchy of ministry, and because all of that is so contrary to what they lived in the early church. They were all on the same playing field. They recognized they each functioned differently as a body, but not as a hierarchy, not denominationally of having bosses and workers and that kind of thing. And that is prevailing in the church today. Absolutely out of control prevailing. And it's not bash the church kind of thing. It's dealing with this particular mindset of the power of position. I'm the pastor, you're not. Which kind of becomes, isn't that funny? I would have thought that if that were the case, you would be serving me. You wouldn't be yelling at me that I should be serving you. It gets kind of funny after a while. It gets all turned upside down and so screwed up you think, how can this be? But it is. But I firmly believe it's because we've never had that real transformation of mind and heart to understand fully what... We could teach it all day long, but to live it, to do it, to really become a son is what we're talking about, really. Continuing on with what I want to really get to tonight, we're getting there. A few months before, in Luke 14, the chapter starts with Jesus healing somebody on the Sabbath, and the religious leaders take issue with him, like they always did. Anything he did on the Sabbath didn't matter. They took issue with him because he was messing with their traditions. And what he says to them is, yeah, but isn't it true that if you had an ox that fell into a ditch on the Sabbath, surely you would rescue him? Now you got to picture what just happened. There's a guy, I believe it was a withered hand, that doesn't really matter. He heals somebody on the Sabbath, and now he's saying to them, but if you had an ox, by the way, in the Old Testament and Proverbs stuff, is a sign of people who are laboring for the Lord kind of thing. If you had an ox, if you had a son, that fell into a ditch on the Sabbath, I think even you would do something about it. I don't think you'd be screaming about traditions. I think you'd save the animal. We know that there's a lesson to be learned about tradition, about healing. But Jesus is calling them even deeper. He's saying, surely, if you were suffering, you'd want somebody to pull you out of a ditch. But the point is that Jesus is saying, he's trying to draw them. He's not against their traditions. He's not coming against anything except certain mindsets. He's trying to draw them into joining in their suffering, identifying with them. Because let's face it, if you're having a great day and you got to stop and do something you don't really want to do, I don't want to do that. That's like our natural instinct. And Jesus is saying, what you're really saying is it's okay for them to suffer, but not me. I'm in a different position. We read a little while ago, and all three synoptic gospels agree. Jesus talked about denying yourself, picking up your cross. And we immediately think in terms of what a pain that is, picking up your cross every day. But there was something even more he was saying. They would have heard that expression together, deny yourself, pick up your cross, follow me daily. And the only understanding they would have had for that cross, they were well aware of what crucifixion meant. And Jesus was talking about it enough, his own crucifixion. Maybe not in detail, but he was describing it enough. They knew what he was talking about. The problem with crucifixion is they just don't take somebody off the street and put a cross on them. It's someone who has made a pretty serious mistake. Maybe they're angry. I don't know what they are, but they've made a serious offense against Rome to end up carrying a cross. You don't see somebody carrying a cross and say, oh, I can't wait to grow up and be like him. It's the exact opposite. That poor schlep. That's kind of the way it goes. And Jesus is saying, yeah, but you need to understand, I'm not raising you up to be giving people orders and saying who should carry the cross. If we could move back 2,000 years and stop somebody and interview them. How you doing today underneath that cross? If they didn't swear at you, spit at you, try to bite you, I think if they could probably muster together anything that says, I made huge mistakes in my life. Don't make the same mistake as I made. Don't find yourself underneath this cross. And Jesus is saying, no, get under the cross with them. That's what I'm asking you to do, is to help them carry their cross. Because I'm telling you, it's too heavy for one man. When he's calling them to a place that is the exact opposite. You see, they're thinking power is position. And Jesus is really looking at unity. Nothing should and could separate us from the love of God. And it's like God is saying, you know what? I'm under there with them carrying that cross. Would you join us? Because I'm telling you, it's heavy down here on this guy. If he had some things to do over, guaranteed he would. There's a lot going into that statement. Once we get past the crucified life, if you would, great books have been written. There's more being said about it. It's not just the pain and suffering that goes along with bringing God's love into the world. There's an identification that takes place with God himself. I was hungry, and you didn't walk by me. I was naked, and you didn't walk by me. I was sick, and you didn't walk by me. You didn't put yourself in a position that separates separated us. Poor guy. In fact, when you read that parable, they didn't even know they did it. They get commended. When did we clothe you? When did we feed you? I don't remember seeing you. Yeah, because that's how I was right there. That was me. In Matthew 11, when Jesus says, "Come to me, all you who labor are heavy laden," he goes on to say, "Learn from me, for I am meek and lowly of heart." He identifies with the lowly, if you would.